Welcome to the Next Level Podcast, powered by San Manuel, a series connecting you with the best minds in casino, hospitality, tribal government, and beyond. Enjoy the show.
Dominic, how are you doing today?
Kyle, good to see you, buddy. I'm doing good.
Good to see you. Dominic, just to start, I want to just take a minute to say thank you. As the president and chief marketing officer of Gila River Casinos and Resorts, you have a lot on your plate, but you're the perfect guest to have here as we kick off 2024. Someone who has tremendous success, watching from a distance all the rapid growth that has happened at your properties. So to be able to pick your brain for a little bit and add some value to those listening today, just thanks for joining and doing the show today.
Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate it. Appreciate the offer. It's glad to be on there. I've seen this running for a few years now, and you guys are doing great work. So glad to be part of it.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on the program today. But Dominic, we always like to start with the origin story rather than me going through your impressive bio. Kind of give us the key details of, how you got into this industry, early interests, maybe some key stops along the way that ultimately led to what you do now.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was just talking about this, how I got into the business and the industry, and I kind of stumbled upon it. I was getting into a newly marriage with my wife, and we decided we were going to go on some career paths. And it just so happened that in the market that I was in had casinos. And I went through and applied, and I actually got hired to be a cage cashier. That's where I first started, and slowly worked my way up within the enterprise and the organization there for 14 years in New Mexico. And it was probably about the third year that I fell in love with this industry, and just kept building upon it. 8 years, I would say, with the company, moved into a more marketing aspect and started doing marketing heavily. I come from a background. My mom was in the advertising agency world when I was young. And so I think naturally just kind of migrated in there, right? Once you're a marketer, you always stay a marketer. So stayed in that, and then had interest of moving on to other ventures. And that's where you and I met, Kyle. And I went to an ad agency. I went to the other side of the agency, and I wanted to learn the skill set of agencies and what they possess when it comes to brand and building brands. I knew the operations side and what that looks like once an agency produces a campaign or something back to the operation, but I wanted to see the back end of it and how the sausage was made. And so did that for a small stint, and that was probably the most pivotal moment in my career, I would say, and learning a lot of things about marketing and how full circle everything comes together. And so I owe a lot to that agency for letting me get in the role for a little bit and then be okay with it. And naturally migrated into another marketing role as a VP of marketing for Gila River, which I'm at now in Arizona. And it's been an amazing growth plan over here.
Dominic, there's a few things I wrote down that I want to come back to. So you said earlier in your career, you said the third year you started to fall in love with the industry. Was there a pivotal moment early in your career in the casino business where you're like, you know what, this is not just a job for me, this is a career? Talk to us a little bit about that evolution.
Yeah, I think when you start jobs, we've all had different types of jobs in our lifetime, and there's just something about certain jobs that you gravitate towards. Either your charisma or whatever that is kind of gravitates towards something that you're servicing. And I think for me, it was the hospitality business. I truly enjoy taking care of people and serving people. On both sides, both the consumer and our workforce. And so this was naturally an easy migration for me to fall in love with because we're always serving guests. The second piece of it, and what I truly love, and I've been in Native American gaming for, it would be 23 years now. There's a purpose around Native American gaming that not all companies get to have. And so to know that the revenue that you build and what you generate serves a community of their livelihood, I think is everything what I fell in love with. And so my half brother is actually Native American. So it really hit home for me. And so I was like, man, if I could really serve a purpose from this side and do the things I love, hospitality, and it's all these 24/7 business, which I kind of love too secretly. It just worked for me.
From what I know, in brief discussions I have in the past, I believe you've had multiple roles throughout your career. Talk to me a little bit about that, the diversity of roles. You said you started in the cage, right? But how is that important? Can you get by without it? Talk to me about, for those listening who really want to get into a leadership role, the need, or maybe not a need, but take this question where you want to really build your skill sets and understand all the different departments. Is that necessary, you think? And was that foundational for your growth?
Don't know if it's necessary, but highly valuable.
Okay.
Starting off in the cage as a cashier, servicing guests, from giving them change, really puts a perspective of when you get into a leadership role, how you carry things down, how things you make and decisions you make are going to affect their livelihood or how they perform in their families, etc. And so every time I make a decision, I have to think in my mind going, if I was a cage cashier again, how would I respond to a change or initiative that the president, per se, is carrying something down? So that's super helpful. What I will say is it gave me a well-rounded view of the business. I've been in cage. I did supervisor in cage. I've done main bank. I've counted drop before at 1 o'clock in the morning. I've worked float shift where I was one day, two swing, two graves. I've done it all. And so when I look at that and I go back, it's very rewarding and I never take it for granted where I'm at now. I look back and go, man, it was a hard work to get there. And anything you have to work hard for has just this, I don't know, it's a different reward that you get. So
Yeah.
I would say it's super beneficial. And the one thing I'll add, Kyle, is that every time I was in something different, I may have looked at it and said, why am I doing this? Why am I in this? This is maybe not where I want to be. But everything I did along that way, I've used in where I'm at now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've heard other people say that too. It's like, I know I don't have this exactly right, but like you can't really count the dots on your career path up. It only makes sense when you look back. So I think that's super valuable to those listening who might be in a position where they don't really understand the trade-off or maybe how it's going to serve them long term. But it's just amazing how many different people I connect with. They could say that entry job or maybe a stop in their career where at the time they were really questioning themselves, but in the long run, it really benefited them in ways they didn't foresee there at the beginning. And then another thing, your mom. So being around, like, was your mom like a source of inspiration for you, just watching her work? You said she was in the marketing ad agency. Talk to me a little bit about that relationship and how that was instrumental to you.
Yeah, so single parent, worked two jobs. Ad agency was one. She used to clean the building after she was done working the same ad agency. She would clean it, which was her second job.
Wow.
And so I was there from when I got off school all the way through the evening because she would work both jobs. But it was interesting to see her work ethic behind it. She had this drive to really perform to the best she could, and make sure that the business really received the benefits of her hard work. And this was back in the day when spots, you couldn't just email a commercial over to the radio station and they would get it and just play it. You actually had reel to reels, man. They would go reel to reels and they'd put it in and they'd have to ship it off. So sometimes we like be a mad dash to the airport to get it on the plane overnight so it'd make it. So it goes back to what you asked on the steps you did to get to your career. Are they valuable? When I thought about marketing and I looked at it, I remember the steps of what she did to where is that now. So I definitely am able to reflect to that. So yeah, super inspirational for me.
So let's jump to, your transition into the ad agency when you worked for an ad agency there in Arizona. Kind of what was because I think another part that's really valuable is pivots. So it seems like you've had a couple pivots throughout your career. That was a big jump, right? Going from New Mexico to Arizona, getting out of the operations side. Talk to me a little bit about the decision process at that time, and maybe double click a little bit on some key valuable lessons you learned through that experience.
Yeah. I have to thank the agency for allowing me to get in the world and accepting me. I think the agency was wondering, could an operational person, matter of fact, I know this because they outwardly said this, can an operational person become an agency person? And they're very unique in what they do. And I was very open to an opportunity wherever it took me. And so my mindset, I was very open on where you're going to go, what I was open to, and if somebody was going to let me, get into their area. And so I got an offer to work for the agency and service Oklahoma Choctaw accounts. And I took it as a great opportunity. I was glad they were going to take a trust and a chance on me. It was a huge chance. I don't think they knew exactly where I fit inside the organization. However, they saw value in the knowledge I possessed from the skill set. And so I was able to go with them and they taught me along the way what branding, where it starts and where it ends. I still use the tactics today, believe it or not. So I mean, I learned how they build a brand, how they maintenance a brand, how they carry it through. I don't think if I did that small stint, Kyle, I don't think I would be as good as I know I wouldn't be as good as marketer as I am now.
Yeah, and you guys have done some amazing work on the brand side, which I want to get to here in a little bit. But any words of truth looking back on that? When is it time to jump? When is it to maybe, because I'm sure that was scary, right? You're
Yeah,
moving your
absolutely.
family to a different state. You're getting out of operations. Any words of wisdom to those who might be debating, hey, I've been at this place for a long time. I like it here, but do I stay here, or is it time to make the jump? Kind of, how do you navigate career pivots? And any words of advice on that front?
Yeah, I would say make sure that the family or whatever situation you're in is unified around the decision. So that was super helpful. The family and my wife, we were super excited about doing it. So that was helpful. When I did it, it definitely was hard for me to make that transition, both state-wise and career-wise. And I would say that the biggest key is that if there's something there that you feel is maybe resistant or not as easy as what you're used to, it's probably going to be a big breakthrough for you. All breakthroughs that I've had have been super stressful, no fun. I want to quit. I'm at the verge of going, I am done with this. I want to go back to where it's comfortable. But then right when I break through that piece, I'm like, man, I'm glad I stayed with it. So I would say stay with it. Have a goal in mind, a long-term goal of where you're going with this and why you're doing it. And make sure that every time you're in that situation, no matter if you like it or not, give it everything you got. You have no idea who's watching you. You have no idea who's going to take you to the next step. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, there's some great things there. And two things I kind of took from that was I've heard this saying, like, lean into what scares you, because that's where
Yeah.
growth happens, right? It
Yeah.
seems like that's what you did, right? Obviously, it was a family decision, but once you kind of knew there was alignment there. And then the other part too is make sure that you gave it 100%, right? So if you're in a current position and you've given it your all, right? I think those two buckets are big for you. It's funny too. I was thinking about it before we started the chat today, and I was like, I remember me and you, we were at an opening there in Arizona for a new property. And I felt it was almost like, when you see an athlete retire for the first year
Yeah.
and they're just like, maybe they're in broadcast now and they're like on the side of the field and you could just see them itching to like play. Right. And I felt like because you were like, what do you think our win per unit is? I bet it's this. And like you were saying all these operational terms. And I was like, this guy
Dude, that
wants,
was so me, man.
yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I can't remember if that was early on in your stint at the agency or if that was on the back end. I can't remember when in the timeline, but I guess a long-winded way to like, man, I bet you were itching to get back into casino operations with the new knowledge set that you had. Talk to me a little bit about that pivot, of moving to Gila River Casinos in a leadership capacity and marketing. Talk to
Yeah.
me about that.
Yeah. So this community and this enterprise is simply amazing to work for. I always say the community has a giving heart. You truly, by their actions and what they do and their brand and what they stand for, you can see their heart, which was simply amazing. When I made the transition back operation, my wife was like, "What are you doing? You're making a big mistake. The agency's where you need to be because you get weekends off and you come home at night and all these things, right?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Operations, where's my heart is." And when I made the move, the resources of Gila River were all in place. They just needed somebody to put them in effect in the right order. And when I was coming from the agency, coming fresh from that, I had the insight and the alignment exactly what I needed to do in my area. And it just so happened that when I was working with them, they were a brand that was more of a house of brands instead of a branded house. And we looked and we're like, man, branded house would be the place you needed to go. And so when I got to Gila River, they were in a house of brands. And so it worked perfectly to take everything that I was in for that time at the agency and migrate it over and go, I've seen this before. I know how it can work, scales of economy, the efficiency, everything. And so it just worked perfectly. And they recognized it. They were a little resistant to the beginning. And I think resistance, as personal as you have change in yourself, there's resistance. But I think even for the business you're in, they may have some resistance to what you're proposing or planning. I think if you guys can both get past that and talk through it, there's a big reward at the end. And these guys saw past it and they let us kind of change the brand. It was cool.
Yeah. I want to kind of double click on that a little bit because at that time, you're right. You had Lone Butte, Wild Horse Pass, and Viquiva, right? Yep. And all three were kind of separate identities, but all owned by Gila River. And pretty quickly, in short form, you came in there and united the umbrella under one. And by doing that, you were able to maximize media dollars, maximize ad agency, maximize your total brand footprint, so to speak. But behind the scenes, you know, as a new leader, how are you able to make that happen? Because I think that's really valuable for people listening out there, either current leaders or future leaders, like to make a pretty big shift strategically. Any insight on how you did that?
Yeah, I came in, Colin, and wrecked the house, man. It was passionate of where I knew this company needed to go. And I led my passion and where I saw the vision for this place. I let my heart speak through it. And so when I was telling them exactly what I could see in this, it didn't come from me just coming in and changing anything. It was coming that I wanted to have stability. I was in my last place 14 years. And so I wanted stability. I told them, I said, I want to work for the industry for 20 years. Every decision I make, I want to live with it for 20 years. So I will never make a decision that I have to live with for 3 years in a contract per se, and then I go on to a next property. My goal is to make a decision and live with it forever. And so when I looked at the brand as a whole, I changed their mentality to be a popular mentality of a winning culture. And there was a little bit of wonder, are we the big thing? Are we the best thing? Are we providing what we need to in Arizona? Are we giving our gamers and consumers what they need? And my job was to go in first and tell the team, you have everything, you're doing everything right. Let me just tell the story for you. Let me tell your great story outwards, and let me unify you guys under one. And the reason I made this these credos, brand credos, and they're kind of corny, but they kind of work. But I made them as the largest gaming enterprise in the Valley. And I said, you guys have 4 properties in the Valley, and nobody else has that. When you guys unify as 3,500 employees, which we have now, nobody can beat you. You have the most employees, you have the most properties. You are the one to set the lead. And they started buying into this culture of championship, and they let me adjust it.
That's awesome.
It came with a lot of resistance, man.
Right.
But
yeah, I'm
to
sure,
our point,
I'm sure
right?
It wasn't easy, but I can hear the passion in your voice. You're still just as passionate about it now as probably when you first started that pitch. And I circled something you said there. I want to say it again for the audience. I want to live with it for the next 20 years. And I think that perfectly aligns with what you said in the beginning, which is working for a tribal organization, which is, you want to protect their sovereignty. So it goes well beyond just your personal milestones or what you could do for your immediate team. Like, you're protecting and helping their sovereignty in perpetuity. And that's so powerful. And I think that aligns perfectly with what you said there in the beginning. Dominic, I wanted to ask you this question with your role now, overseeing all those properties from a marketing strategic perspective. A lot of people rely on you, but if I had to ask you in its simplest form, the number one function of my role is blank, how would you finish that?
I would say it would be purpose. Purpose. That's kind of my center of gravity.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Purpose for their benefit. If I'm working for you, I'm working for somebody, or I'm on your team. I need to buy into your family, and I need to buy into the purpose of why I do what I do every day. It's more than a paycheck for me. It's more than money. It's more than recognition. It's more than even this next level event. I definitely want to have my recognition by them to be noticed, that I did something beneficial for them that impacts their livelihood. Because casinos, casino, right? People call it a vice, or people call it certain things, right? And I think all too often we forget to tell the gaming business their impact on what they do on livelihoods, not only for the people that work for them and how they can take care of their families, but the effects in Native American gaming that stretches to the community and even the state level. I mean, you guys have the same situation over there at your place. Your purpose is, it is a ripple effect that affects a lot of people. And I think if that does not wake you up every morning, I don't know what will, man.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you 100%. We have a saying here, it's all on our heart of house walls, but it's build something greater together. which
Love it.
that's what we're about, right? Every single day we're building, we're innovating. It's got to be better than it was. But it's not for us. It's not for Yamava, the casino resort. It's for the tribe and the community and the greater community. And it's an echo of their leadership, right? To your point, and I know that you guys do so much great work in the community. That's fulfilling. That's what'll keep you going, right? Understanding that purpose behind it. And I think that's powerful. And, switching gears a little bit, I want to pick your brain on this end, because not only just your success, but the success you've seen of others that you've worked with. Maybe you have some champions there at Gila River who stand out since your time there. But if you had to say, not just marketing, but let's just say casino hospitality leadership in general, there's 3 skill set that all of them have in line, or 3 skills maybe they have of people that you see who've really made a difference and who are at that next level, so to speak. And if you can't think of 3, maybe give me 1, give me 2, but give me some nuggets on what are some similarities you see in skills or, EQ or wherever you want to take it.
Yeah, I think the first one is drive. I think personal drive is super valuable. Can you motivate yourself? Can you pump yourself up every time you're going to do something, and have a drive to do something good? That's one piece. I think the second is personal pride. I tell the team all the time, like, when you're painting a picture, and when an artist paints a picture, they sign their autograph at the end of the picture to say that's their work. When they're painting that picture, they are really putting their heart and everything they got to make sure that thing is perfect, because their name is going on it. So I tell these guys, every time you do a project or something, make sure you're going to put your name on the bottom of it. If you're not going to put your name on the bottom of it, don't even do it. And so I think the personal pride, and pride can get a bad connotation, right, to some extent. But I think if your personal pride around purpose and the drive that you have, and you understanding that you do not know everything, I lead this enterprise humbly, and sometimes I wonder, how in the hell do I do it, right? And I think every leader has that, where they go, "Am I the best president?" You can ask our CEO. He always asks. He always challenges, "Am I doing this right? Am I doing the right things?" And I think the self calibration in this team is what I value. Is nobody thinks that they're doing everything perfect, and they are, what I mean, they're the shiznit, man. That doesn't happen. And I think those 3 qualities are the best.
What, throughout your career, what is because that's such a great insight. What's the skill set that's take the long, and maybe you're still working on it, but if there's something that's been an evolution for you, as far as like from when I first started my career to now, what's been the biggest evolution as far as like doing that inward work, having that humility of hey, I don't know everything, but like, what's been the one that you've been focused on maybe as of late, or that's been an evolution throughout your career?
I think the biggest evolution I've had in this current role is the decisions I make impact the entire enterprise.
Mhm.
So some decisions I don't necessarily want to make. They're not comfortable decisions, but I have to make them. Those are always hard to deal with. And sometimes I go home and I sit on my couch and I look at my wife and I go, I don't want to do A anymore, or I don't want to do B anymore, because it doesn't feel good, even though the business is requiring it. I think I'm coming to terms with, I don't know, I guess we'll call it a business heart or a business emotion, that it's right for the business, and as long as it sticks to the mission and vision, you're grounded and you're good. But I think that's the biggest thing for me that I've had to learn is people in your position and other leadership positions. People don't understand the stress and the expectation that we have to make every single decision perfect, and we won't. And some decisions we made maybe aren't ones that we're enjoying that we have to make.
Right. Yeah. And any words of advice on, is there any way to prepare for that, or no? Like, is there any way to kind of, if you're a manager, senior manager, director, as you are kind of taking on more responsibility throughout your career, is there any way that you can kind of get reps for that? Or is that just one of those things that, you just kind of have to experience as you go?
I think it's a experience as you go. I haven't found an easy way to get through it, or be. I guess what's hard about it is that you're the one that everybody looks to make the right decision, and when you don't, your wrong decision becomes amplified, because you have however many employees you have that are looking at it. we're going to make mistakes. And I think living by truth and being honest with your entire team and your staff, et cetera, as you lead through it and very transparent, I think you can't go wrong.
Yeah. I wanted to say this to the back half, but I feel like it's a perfect segue. When you spot potential, right? Because I think that's big, is to really pick your mind and other leaders' mind on, what are the kind of things that you look for. And what you were speaking about so much resonated with me in the sense of accountability. I feel like, to me, that's a huge one. If we're talking about people development or people we really see a future with who could be the future leaders, accountability, I feel like you either have that or you don't. Like, if something messes up, you want to wear it. Like, you're not pointing fingers. Like,
Absolutely.
and I feel you could build off of that. And usually that's something people that have or they don't. But for you, when you're trying to spot potential of somebody who has a great, bright future in a potential leadership position, what are some things you look for?
When they take joy in their failure.
Mm.
When they fail and they receive it and take it okay, and they never do it again. That's the improvement that I like to see. When they want to be held accountable, when they ask you as a leader, be honest with me, did I do it right or did I not, and what would you change? I think that's a good attribute to have. I really look towards people that want to do really, really good work and have a drive and a passion to do so, along with integrity and openness to be held accountable. Accountability, like I agree with you, Kyle, 100%. Accountability is not easy to find. It's not easy to give. I mean, to try to hold somebody accountable, that's even tough as a leader, to hold somebody accountable, because you don't know if it's a safe space, right?
Right.
I call it with the team space for grace, right? I'm going to give you space for grace, and we're going to talk openly right here. We're going to throw towels out the door, and we're going to have this conversation to come out better. I think allowing people or having people around you that are okay with you holding them accountable in a nice way, but also able to return that back to you and say, I might have done that different. Super valuable.
Space for grace. That's
Space
awesome.
for
I wrote
grace,
that one
man.
down. I'm taking that one. I love that one.
Yeah, I like that one. Thanks.
Dominic, I want to jump to a segment here we call the bigger picture, where I'm going to show a picture. It could be an article, it could be a quote, it could be a picture. For those listening via podcasts, please go check out the website. If not, I'll kind of speak to the picture here. But the first one is you do you. So going back to that time you spent in the agency, this happened pretty quickly when you were in the leadership position there in marketing. It's been a very successful campaign, and it's been something that you guys, I think you've done several iterations of this, but you've stuck to this "you do you" slogan. So my question to you is, how do operations and marketing work together to deliver this brand promise? Like, tell me a little bit now that you're several years into this campaign, about lessons on building a great brand, but then also making sure that brand is true holistically from every impression, but also the property experience.
You sound like a brand guy, Kyle. Hit all the key points right there, man. Yeah, I mean, you show me this and I kind of smile. It's been a 6-year run of You Do You. It's probably the longest campaign that I've ran myself, and have seen ran in any market I've been in. This came from my experience at the agency. When I realize in agency work, when they build brands don't come from necessarily the marketer itself and their mental capacity. We as marketers may think we know where the brand exists, but it can't be our brand, it's the consumer's brand. Mm-hmm. And so one thing I realized is, even before I got to Gila River, I admired Gila River as a company, as an enterprise. And I said, man, they got all these sports teams they sponsor. They are amazing. The resources are there. And I could kind of already sense the brand before I even got in there. And most good marketers, what I find is that even though they don't work in the company, they'll recognize exactly or come close to what the brand truly is. And so when we went to research, we went to a qualitative research when I first got in the position. I said, I need to know what our consumers think about us, what they like about us, what they don't like. And you talk about accountability. There it was. They let it all out of where we sucked, where we were good, everything, man. It was painful. But what came out of that was that our players have been choosing us for 29 years. At that time, it was 22 years. They've been choosing the brand of Gila River because it was a place that they can go and be themselves. They said, they came from high stressful jobs where nurses, we're doctors, we're casino workers, we're teachers. All these professions that have stressful jobs, they chose to come to Gila River and the casino so that they can be themselves and not apologize for it. So as my job as a marketer was to go to the agency and say, guys, this is what the essence is. This is the mantra of who we are. How do we put this? How do we tell the story in a simplistic, catchy term that we could build upon? And when we started looking at this a little bit deeper, you do you just flows off the tongue nicely. It's representation of what our consumer is and what we have there. It's so flexible in how you perceive you do you. You do could be a pool party. You do you can be a prime steakhouse, nice night with your suit on. You do you can be you and maybe some yoga pants playing a slot machine or a poker tournament or whatever. There's so much ways that people can do themselves, and it happened to be at the time that diversity and inclusion was happening, so it just hit at the key moment. And we've even changed our appearance policy on the casino floor for our employees to allow them a little more flexibility to express themselves as you do you. And so we've really been able to just keep building on this, and it's been super successful. I've heard kids that are 5 years old say it. I've heard people that are 80 years old tell me "you do you" to my face, and I have some people that have gotten tattooed. We have shoes that we wear around here have "you do you." I mean, it's kind of like this thing that just it went like wildfire, man. It's cool.
Yeah, the timing was incredible, and kudos to you, because at the time it was relatively a new phrase, "you do you,"
Yeah.
and that coincided almost directly with the launch of that campaign shortly after. And then you guys trademark it and own it, and it's kind of yours in that space. But if I kind of want to repeat what you said there, Dominic, which is, if I heard you correctly, there was this baseline already built in value proposition for anybody who visited Gila River at the time. The foundation work was already there. When you rolled out this new campaign, and maybe this is what you're still doing, you're still looking at ways to enhance the diversity of experience so that brand promise is true. Do I got that right?
Absolutely. 100%.
Okay.
Well said. Yep.
And that is a perfect transition to my next slide, which is, it feels like from a distance, you guys have really put entertainment at the focus of a lot of your experiences. And take this question where you want, but I always say that, if you look at someone's Instagram, it's kind of like the mosaic of their brand in some ways. Mm-hmm. And for you guys, I see a lot of celebrity. I see a lot of entertainment. So for you, how do you look at, when I say entertainment, I use that loosely, right? It could be a pool party, it could be an entertainer, it could be a celebrity event like Nikki and Brie Bella there, but kind of how has that played a role in your experience and brand?
Man, this has been fun. I haven't really seen it, believe it or not, Kyle, in a collage form like you see. I don't do social media personally, so I know it's kind of weird, right? But to see it in the collage this way is kind of like, yeah, I got to take it in. I don't know if I knew what this brand would become even when I was working with the team to develop it. The team has embraced this. This is a reflection of your staff buying into the brand that is built and making it their own brand, making it a part of their brand. I could not do this on my own. Everything you have here, I'll be honest with you, I didn't touch any of this. I did not do any of this stuff that's on there. My team embraced the brand of you do you and said, this is how it fits within you do you. All I do is set the guardrails. I set the guardrails for the team and let them go. The Bella twins, they've been here 3 times. They're coming for Final Four weekend. The Hip Hop 50 was, oh my God, it's so insane. But it was awesome, man. A little backstory, Offset, he didn't want to get off the craps table. He wanted to stay in the craps table and play with the people. You talk about you do you. We embraced it. We let him be with the people and play the way he was. I think this is a direct reflection of going, entertainment is another area of you do you. And I will add, when I was building the brand with the team and the agency, it was a little backwards, because typically what you do is you have capital investment to a property, and the property gets revamped, and then you launch a new brand campaign to support that newness, right? So you see something new on the outside, you walk in the property and go, it is new. We did a little backwards here. We launched this campaign, and then they came in the property and go, this is the same Wild Horse Pass, this is the same Lone Beat I remember. So that was a tough thing that we had to kind of work through. this as a reflection of the expansion that this community and this property has taken on. And we said, why not show it off through entertainment? And so we've been going down the route with Too Short, Jolly Roll. I mean, Jolly Roll there's only 1,500 seats in that theater for Jolly Roll. And I mean, it was just berserk, man. Super cool.
Yeah, I always, think marketing is about momentum. And I think Gila River, your properties, and just the Gilbert, Santan, that whole area is exploding, right?
Yeah.
Like it just feels like more people are moving into that area. A lot of people, even from California, are moving into that area. There's just tremendous momentum, and it's a really cool area. And you guys are, because I think of additive is a word that I keep thinking of every time. I don't visit Arizona a lot, but when I do, I just feel like, oh, they're adding new stuff. Oh, they're adding more restaurants. Oh, there's more people moving in here. Oh, home prices are going up. And you guys are kind of following that same momentum, right? You're adding to the entertainment experiences. You're expanding the properties. You're adding a new one. So I just from afar, it's been really cool to watch you guys. And it's refreshing too, to hear you say a lot of it is out of your hands. A lot of it's the work of the team members. So,
I'm not that
that's
cool
a
to create
perfect
that
question, which is this. Feels like you guys move fast. It feels like when there's a change in Arizona, and a lot's changed in Arizona between the gaming compact. You guys opened up a fourth property. So just a couple of headlines here. BetMGM opens biggest retail sports book in Arizona. Gila River Resorts and Casinos to celebrate fourth casino opening, which is now open, which I want to talk about in a minute. But what makes you guys able to move fast when all this change is going on?
Our methodology behind it is we develop our 5-year plan. We revisit every couple of years to see how we're pacing along, and if we need to extend it out another 5 years or whatever it is. So we work from a 5-year plan. I know there's companies that do 10-year, 20-year plans, and those are totally fine and acceptable. For us, 5 years at a time seems to work perfectly, because the way the market's changing, to what you said, there's growth and there's different movement and change that's happening. And so we try to get ahead of the curve. We structured our enterprise a little bit different this last year with this fourth property. It pursued us to build a corporate section versus the property section. Before, corporate was super involved in the property level, and we just couldn't do it with 4 properties. And so we went to 4 GMs per property, and gave them lines directly to their staff. And so now that freed up time for the corporate body to go do strategic things, like the fourth property and the sports book and everything you see. But I think it all stems from the leadership. Our CEO, Kenneth Manuel, the guy loves to move fast. He likes to make impactful things. He doesn't want the water in the lake to be still. He wants that thing to be rocking and moving. And I subscribe to that. I got ADD, man, so it's like it's perfect for me. And he enjoys and appreciates, which is cool, the alignment of him and I. He appreciates my craziness, and he lets me embrace it, and it works for the industry. And you asked me the question at the beginning, why did you fall in love with the industry? This industry is crazy, and it is awesome, dude. It's so cool, and it works perfect for me. And so, yeah, all these things came from a strategic plan. We assumed and had visions of where this was going to go, and we started doing the legwork on the vision before it actually even came to fruition. We were the first ones to open our retail sports book, not just one, but all 3. All 3 sites opened up, and it was the first in the native country in Arizona to do that. So yeah, we knew our decision 2 years before it actually went live.
Yeah, and I love what you said there as far as like the craziness, but you have to like lean into it and accept that. And I feel like those who stay in this industry long understand that's part of the gig, but that is like, they wouldn't change it for anything. And now, this property is now open, Santan Mountain. It looks beautiful. I've not seen it, but kind of for those who are unfamiliar with this property, give us a little insight as far as, how it's doing, what makes it different from any of the other properties, and any nuggets you could share.
Yeah, it's doing amazing, both from the consumer market and what we're getting from market share, but also the job creation for the community. This is the closest casino to the capital of the community, which is awesome for us. So we employ approximately about 39%, 40% community members at this property, which I think is amazing. This one is very unique in the creation of this was not even me. It was our COO kind of started creating. Our CEO was a part of it. We have a casino expansion owners team. I wasn't in the role yet, but they went in with a mindset of something totally different, unique. We in our brand, we want to set ourselves apart. We don't want to just be a casino brand. We want to be an everything you to you brand. In this property here, they said we don't want to do the typical cookie cutter casino. And first example of that is there is full 360-degree windows in this thing. There's no walls besides when you go to a restroom or a venue or a players club. Other than that, you walk in and it's windows all the way around. And so they got with Stillman Partners as an architect, and he did Circa and he did Resorts World, and they wanted something unique, and they let him run wild. And it's this thing is super unique. It's a great locals property, but it gives the locals a comfortable place to play that you wouldn't get anywhere else. And so, it's doing amazing.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. I mean, that's such a differentiator, right? Is like, because usually the norms is like it's dark, you almost lose track of time, you don't know where you are. And it's like you guys let the light in, you know.
Dude, the slot machines are white. There's a lot of white tile around the end. I mean, everything's light and bright. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome, and it's differentiation, and it's different, and it's totally in line for you, right? Which is you do you. Right now, it's another choice that's different there in the Valley. Dominic, thanks for joining. You know, I got some final questions here, more quick in nature, but 2024 and beyond, as you look to the future, you've kind of done a great job of highlighting the last 20 plus years of your career. But when I say what gets Dominic excited for the future, what are you thinking about?
Growth for this enterprise. I think there's areas that of our properties that we have potential to expand on. I definitely we're focused on our middle management tier right now. We really want to train our middle management tier to be the best managers and best operators they can be. We are being picky and selective in our hiring on all fronts. We want to hire the best candidates. We're definitely quality now, and we are trying to level up as much as possible on not only the product that we're offering, from our business acumen all the way down to the people that we're bringing on board with us to take this mission and this company further.
And Dominic, if I were to ask you, and I'll give you a few seconds to think about, because I'm sure you don't have an answer at the top of your head, but maybe you do. 10 years ago, let's say 2014, looking back, if there is something you wish you would have known or would have done 10 years ago, what would that be?
Apply yourself to the mission and vision. Wherever you're at. I could be honest with you in saying that there was times when I was at manager level or director level or whatever, that I didn't necessarily buy into maybe the vision or the mission of where the company was going. It's easy to get cynical in those kind of things. And I think as good leaders and potential leaders as they're coming up, if you can latch on and you buy into the mission and vision of where the company's going that you're a part of, you will definitely excel in that company further because you're an asset and you can row the boat the way they want to go. If you don't buy into it, find some company or something that buys in and fits your vision and mission as well. When you find that alignment, you're productive, you're more productive, and the company will see your productivity and advance you.
That's great advice. And then now I want to go 10 years forward. So if I were to ask Dominic in 2034, so 10 years from now,
yeah.
Hey, Dominic, we're doing this interview 10 years from now. The thing we underestimated the most in 2024 was what? How do you think you'll finish that sentence?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think I think we underestimated ourselves. I think we probably didn't give the credit where credit was deserved. I mean, we have a lot of valuable people here, and I think that we need to really let them be free and empower them to do the great work. I think if I would look back from 10 years forward, I would look back and say, I missed the opportunity on that person. They had the gift. We should have done more with them.
That's great. And thank you for sharing that. And last question on the future front, just general macro level question, but like, where is our industry going? Casino, hospitality, entertainment. Where do you see it going, and how can future leaders prepare?
I think you will see gaming become somewhat of Amazon type approach when it comes to servicing multiple areas of entertainment. You've seen this over the few years. Casinos have become dining meccas. Casinos have become entertainment meccas. You guys built a beautiful venue over there. You guys are a place to go to entertainment now. That wasn't a thing 5 years ago.
Right.
And so I think you will find in this business that we will have more skill sets coming in from hospitality, et cetera. And you will find these casinos offering more. Casino will be a second or third afterthought, and they will have a lot of good things around non-gaming. That's where I see it going.
Couple final ones here. Sources of creative inspiration. So when Dominic's not being Dominic, or not, the president and CMO, kind of where do you go for creative inspiration?
So my family is super important to me. They give me a time to kind of relax and be creative with myself. I'm recently getting back into golf. So I've been golfing for 4 months now. There is a creative thing that happens there for me, and it's tranquility for me. I take great joy in visiting colleagues like yourself, seeing what you guys are doing and talking with you guys. I think that definitely provides me a good creativity. So yeah, exactly in that order.
Okay. Hobbies outside of work. You said golf. Is there any others that like you try to do?
With golf, there's really not much you can do other than golf. I mean, it's like it takes so much of your time, and if you don't devote to it, you don't get better, man. So right now, it's golf for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not at a stage of life where I can tap into the golf game. I got 4 kids, 6 and under. So to your point, to me to be like, I'm gonna dip out for 4 or 5 hours on Sunday, but like the level of practice it takes just to get decent, forget good, just decent. It's one of those things you got to continue to work out. But the patience part of it applies to every aspect of life, right? So it's you against you out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of correlation between golf and business that I admire. There's always something you could work on in golf. There's always something you could work on in business. There's always something that you'll never be the best at, both ways.
Right.
And I think the dedication and effort towards it, I enjoy it.
Is there a favorite quote that you have? If maybe not a favorite one that comes to the surface when I ask that question.
Larger than life.
What was that?
Larger than life.
Larger than life.
Yeah. I think like Justin Timberlake said that or something. I don't know. I think it was a song on it or something. I don't know.
I like it. Do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite book?
I do. It depends on what I'm in the mood for, but there's personal one, which is John Aldridge. He has a book called Wild at Heart, which I think is an amazing book. And on the business side, this might shock you, maybe it doesn't, but Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter by 50 Cent.
Oh,
yeah, pretty cool book in the business side.
What's the main thing you took from the Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter 50 Cent book?
So he blends his street life with his business acumen. And he kind of shows how the correlation of hustling, how it converts from what people think hustling on the street, what hustling in business look like. And so he teaches you how to take that same hustle, that same drive, just use it for the goodness of business and how it affects it.
A morning or evening routine that you would recommend to others that maybe that's really helped you?
Yeah, so my morning, I do the same thing every time. I'm kind of a groundhog kind of person. I get up and I love to spend time with my wife if I can for the first hour. So we get up, drink coffee, we actually read the Bible together and stuff. And it's the time of the hour that I think I give to her that she really cherishes because our lives are so hectic. And so in a hectic life of leadership, it took me a while to learn how to balance that priority. And all too often as leaders, we can find ourselves devoting, we become a live to work versus a work to live mentality. And you neglect the ones that mean the most to you when you do that. And if you're like me, I get tunnel vision, and I want to complete something, and I am devoted. Everything else becomes second. And so that hour in the morning that I get to devote with my wife or whatever, I love that time.
I was going to ask that, and maybe that's the answer. But for you, because I think that's such a critical part of advice is, with the, as you said, the craziness of the industry that we're in, kind of, it's easy for career-minded individuals to tip way into the work side of the work-life balance equation. So is it just more scheduling that time? Just words of advice for those who might have a similar conflict, how to approach work-life balance? Is it just being more dedicated and carving out that time?
I didn't sacrifice the dedication that I had for the business or the industry. What I did is I had to, and I learned this in the Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter. I had to change my time to allow for certain things. And so if I get up at 7 o'clock normally, I may have to get up at 4 o'clock now, and I may have to change my routine to allow more time to do something that I need to get done. And so, like working out, I usually go work out in the evening. It took away from family time, so I had to structure it to go early morning. Same thing, spend time with my wife. So you just change your structure.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. And Dominic, once again, thank you, man, for doing this podcast. I'm going to get you out of here on the final question, which is, all about helping people get to that next level, whatever it looks like for them. But for you, if you were to give 3 tips to somebody on, hey, this is, if you want to get to the next level in your career, these are the 3 tips I'd provide for you. What would those 3 tips be for you?
Be okay with the stepping stones to get where you want to get. You may only see one stair on the staircase, but know there's more to it. So take joy in the stepping stones to get where you need to go. I would say don't lose drive on where you want to be. And I think take great joy of where you're at. There's no way that we can see what we're all going to become. Nobody has a crystal ball of what that looks like. So whatever you've been given and what you've been entrusted with time, do it the best, and always have your eyes open for the next opportunity.
Awesome. Dominic, thank you. Those are perfect 3 ones to end. Once again, thanks for just taking the time. I know you're busy, so thanks for providing value. I know I found this valuable. I know our audience will as well, but just thanks again for doing it.
Kyle, appreciate you, man. Yamava, San Manuel, appreciate you guys. Thanks for allowing me to do this.
Awesome. All right, Dominic, have a good one.
All right, take care, buddy.
Check out more episodes at thenextlevelcareers.com.